My 37-year-old wife, Hannah, accepted a position at a new technology company around 5 months ago. She quickly developed strong bonds with her new coworkers. I'm 36 years old, and this new social group has made me uncomfortable. They were heavily interested in activism, constantly portraying themselves as oppressed and engaging in heated debates about social concerns. It seemed like whatever I said or did could be turned into an offense, making it impossible for me to feel comfortable. I initially assumed it was just a phase, but Hannah's behavior became increasingly alarming during the previous 2 months. We have been married for 11 years and have 2 children, Rachel, a 10-year-old daughter, and Ethan, an 8-year-old son. Her claims were increasingly ridiculous, such as alleging I was a patriarchal oppressor simply because I was a man. It was senseless. I tried to be calm, but our confrontations invariably ended with my saying, "I have not wronged you. My only fault is that I love you." This generally ended the dispute. But the next day, she'd come up with fresh excuses to berate me. About 5 weeks ago, I recognized something was extremely wrong. Hannah began arriving home late without explanation and becoming inaccessible by phone. Even when she wasn't drinking, she remained cold and distant. When I expressed my concerns, she ignored them, accusing me of being controlling and neurotic. This pattern repeated itself numerous times. I searched her phone but found nothing damning, so I think she deleted a lot of messages. However, I overheard a talk with one of her new friends regarding the concept of an open relationship, which confirmed my worst concerns. Hannah wanted to talk about it with the kids at their grandparents' house on the second Monday of December during the holidays. She casually brought it up over breakfast, asking about my thoughts on open relationships. Fortunately, I had prepared myself. I was perusing several web forums when I realized our marriage couldn't be saved. My priorities switched to safeguarding myself and our children. I maintained a steady voice and offered pointed questions. Her confidence broke as she realized how serious I was. "Who was the other man?" I asked bluntly. "What exactly are you talking about?" She attempted to deflect. "Don't act dumb. Allow us to have an honest chat." "There's no point if you can't tell the truth," I insisted. "I don't know what you mean," she said, attempting to avoid the subject. "If you lie, we can talk about our connection. I know you're hiding something." "So, who is this person you're seeing?" I demanded. "I am not seeing anyone," she lied. "Stop lying. You violated my confidence. Be truthful or we'll be divorced." "There are no fights, simply divorce. Do you understand?" I replied strongly. "I get it," she finally conceded. She admitted to 2 one-night encounters with married men and indicated plans to sleep with a co-worker. She felt that this was best for her and that I had no right to control her. I obtained the co-workers and his wife's names. She said their relationship was open and even offered to match me up with one of her friends, who was ready. I declined and asked for her phone, which she reluctantly gave me while she was in the toilet. I locked myself in my office, which caused her to panic. I utilized recovery software to restore deleted communications and downloaded a surveillance program. When I came out, I handed her the phone and ordered her to leave. She argued, but I responded with one-word answers. She expressed no remorse, accusing me of dominating and sustaining oppression, as well as alleging that I did not actually love her. Her buddies defended her, saying I would not have followed through on any threats. One even admitted to manipulating her ex-husband with identical charges. I purchased cameras for the house, knowing that I needed to record everything. I could not believe what was happening. I'd never threatened her in any way. After that, she texted her affair partner to meet up, and they agreed to meet at a hotel, which surprised me. I went online to discover the affair partner's wife, which didn't take long. I contacted her via social media and relayed all of the details, including the hotel meetup. She thanked me before hanging up. A few hours later, I got a video from her. She had accosted them at the hotel, saying that this wasn't the first time her husband had cheated her in order to convey her wrath. She recorded Hannah getting dressed on the bed, which made me feel queasy. Hannah was smacked and cursed by his affair partner's wife. I messaged Hannah, informing her I had watched the video and did not want her around me again. She appeared to believe this was some sort of competition in which she was winning. It was difficult to understand. It was as if she had disengaged from reality and was unaware we were getting divorced. I entered Hannah's family group chat and notified them of our divorce owing to her infidelity. I thanked them for including me in the family and then departed the group. I received calls and texts from her, but I did not read or respond to them. I simply don't have the energy for it. I told my parents everything. My father messaged Hannah that she would not be welcome for Christmas. I'm now staying with my parents and have spoken with my work, who has offered me time off until mid-January to straighten things out. I've been observing Hannah's interactions with her new friends. Hannah's frantic efforts to contact me have been overwhelming. I don't think she completely understands that she has lost her family and that her new companions, including her affair partner, aren't sincerely concerned about her welfare. She has written many messages and even showed up at my parents' doorway, begging to join our Christmas party. My father had to threaten her with a call to the police to get her to leave. Now I'm looking for a divorce lawyer, and I burst into tears as soon as I arrived at my parents' house. Everything seems so perplexing. Reading over their conversations and dealing with her causes me tremendous grief. I have only answered to her texts twice. It does not matter what you say. I do not recognize you anymore. You are not who I married. My wife would never grin as she broke my heart and soul. We are getting divorced, and I don't care what you say or demand. You have no influence or right to request anything from me. We are finished. Whoever you are now appears to take pride in their activities. After that last message, her texts stopped completely. The grief can be terrible at times, and I find myself wishing for a reality in which none of this occurred. I long for the days before everything crumbled, but I know I can turn back time. This is the most difficult Christmas I have ever experienced. I had to explain to the kids that their mother chose to leave us for other men. We are separating, and they are naturally devastated. Fortunately, my parents are here to soothe them while I recover my strength. I know I have to be strong for my children, but I can never go back to Hannah. I regret not waiting until after Christmas to share the news and set up counseling for them. I blurted it out when they asked when their mother would return. I'll never forgive myself for that moment. Returning to her is impossible. The level of deception and brutality she has demonstrated is unforgivable. I am utterly puzzled and don't understand why she is expecting anything from me right now. Is she mentally stable? I apologize for venting, but I needed to say it. What actually crushed me was Hannah's statement that our marriage and children were burdens to her. She said we were holding her back from success, accusing me of oppressing her and wrecking her life. She even stated that our family was the reason she didn't have a successful job and missed out on other opportunities. It was too much to handle for the following day and a half. I frantically read and reread all of our texts and emails. Reflecting on these, I realized she never gave specific examples of how we were burdens or oppressors. It was all vague charges with no supporting evidence. In actuality, I never stifled her ambition. I paid for practically everything because her part-time job barely covered the bills. I encouraged her hobbies, dreams, and aspirations, even when she joined and dropped numerous classes. I made sure she felt loved and cherished every day. If this is what she considers oppression, I'm not sure what support looks like. When I awoke, I was exhausted and passed out. My 3 closest friends were in the kitchen with my father, preparing dinner. I've known these guys since I was a child. Let's call them Adam, Jason, and Luke. My father had briefed them in on the circumstances. I broke down again and was in a daze until Friday evening. Adam, a former Marine who lost his left arm below the elbow, was someone we helped during his recovery after his wife abandoned him. Fortunately, they did not have children, and Adam eventually adopted 2 children and met a fantastic spouse. He set up a video conference with his counselor, who had assisted him during his recuperation. Even though the counselor specialized in assisting amputees, his insights on my emotional state proved invaluable. He stated that my identity and spirit were inextricably linked to my role as a husband, and that portion was now gone. Just like an amputee feels phantom pain in a missing limb, I would feel phantom agony from losing that aspect of my identity. Our extensive conversations have progressively helped me heal. Jason works as an executive for a security organization, but he keeps his job a secret. I don't know the facts, but he is financially secure. Jason called a high-end law firm linked with his company, and on Sunday morning, I met with a lawyer I could never afford on my own. Jason, who had been relentlessly tormented in his adolescence, promised me that he would handle the legal fees. He was overjoyed to finally reward me for standing up for him when we were children. Luke is a teacher at a private school with 7 children. Yes, 7. My children adore him and their family. Luke has been taking good care of my children as I struggle to rebuild my life. Yesterday was a wild ride. It began with an early morning visit for an STD screening. The realization that I had gotten a STI from Hannah was the tipping point. I'll need another test in 6 months to confirm it's gone. My first self-pity turned into outright wrath. I vowed to fight for full custody and leave her with as little as possible. My lawyer tracked down the ex-husband of Hannah's radical friend who had boasted about tricking him. We contacted him via court filings, and he related his horrible experience with us. I now have a better understanding of what to expect from Hannah. Hearing about his ordeal made me ill, but it also prepared me for the fight ahead. He had been homeless for 4 years and had not seen his children due to his ex-wife's falsehoods. I am aware of my disadvantage as a guy in the judicial system, therefore I am gathering a mountain of evidence. My lawyer suggested that I file a restraining order in response to Hannah's harsh and disparaging comments about men. For the benefit of our baby, who should not grow up in a hostile atmosphere, I am seeking full custody. My lawyer is proceeding with the restraining order, which should be served today. I had an odd Zoom call with Hannah. She had not contacted anyone since the argument at my father's place, demonstrating her lack of concern for us. She dressed provocatively late, attempting to appear her best, something I hadn't seen her do in years. Throughout the call, she attempted to antagonize me, but I kept composed. My lawyer told me to keep things amicable if possible, as this would be beneficial in court. I recorded the phone and addressed her as my soon-to-be ex-wife. She began the conversation with an unusual remark about the various varieties of male anatomy and how they alter when erect. I was taken aback by the unsuitable start. She then passionately discussed how she couldn't wait for the limits to be lifted so she could investigate further in person. I told her simply that I wasn't interested in her hobbies and want to concentrate on the divorce. When I did not react as she had intended, her animosity flared up. She muted herself at one point, stating she needed to use the restroom, and I overheard her discussing with her pals how to deal with me, cursing me simply for being a guy. The entire call felt like a strange game in which she thought she had all the power. We made no progress on our divorce, indicating that it would be disputed. By the way, I got chlamydia from you, and unlike you, I've never been with anyone else. You should be tested, I advised. She glanced at me, shocked. At this time, I didn't care about her thoughts. I showed the recording to my lawyer, who was outraged by her behavior. Everyone I spoke to thought her actions were ridiculous. Because the phone account is in my name, I can present the chat logs in court. After I called her, her pals frantically discussed it, but I stopped caring about their thoughts. My lawyer is convinced that we will all win, unless I missed anything. So, here we are. The discomfort is still present, but I now see it as phantom pain. I've stopped feeling sorry for myself and am taking proactive steps. I need to protect myself and my children. I am convinced my children will be all right, and I will guarantee that they receive the necessary therapy. My soon-to-be ex-wife will become a distant memory, and I will begin to establish a new, better life. I discovered out today that she was aware of the chlamydia infection and had it treated without alerting me. It is irritating. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for their support. Some perceive me as strong or victorious, yet my fury frequently conceals my weakness. I wish this nightmare had never occurred. I desire for my family to be intact and to live a simple, happy life with my wife. However, no one wins in this case. As the kids grow up and leave, my wife's behaviors have pushed this scenario, and there is no turning back. I'll never trust her again, and I weep myself to sleep every night because my children will grow up in a broken household. It's tragic that they no longer have a functioning relationship with their mother. How do you answer a child's inquiry? Why doesn't mommy want to see me anymore? Doesn't she adore me? I would appreciate it if anyone could provide an answer because I am at a loss. Every day is a challenge, but I am determined to keep moving forward. Every morning, I wake up thinking that my heart can't possibly break anymore, only to be proven wrong. Hannah has still not comprehended. Perhaps she is unconcerned that I can listen in on her discussions. She believes that I will never leave her and that my reaction is unreasonable. She continues to disparage me, our marriage, and our children to her acquaintances. I don't understand why she despises us so much when we did nothing to deserve it. My lawyer obtained a temporary restraining order against her, but it was not renewed during the hearing yesterday morning owing to a lack of new threats. My lawyer advised using the fact that she purposely infected me with chlamydia to argue for an uncontested divorce. I wish we could part ways in peace. I despise treating her as an adversary, but if she chose to leave, I could have accepted it. Why is she subjecting me to this unpleasant process? What does she gain from causing so much grief to those she once loved? I'd welcome any information, as I don't understand her intentions. If we go to court, I may have to pay her a lump payment for the equity in our house. But I would prefer to pay alimony because she has showed no interest in the children. If it comes down to it, I believe I will gain custody. My lawyer suggested pursuing an amiable divorce, and I agreed. We plan to meet with Hannah and her representative soon. Surprisingly, the ex-husband of Hannah's radical friend spent New Year's Eve with me and the kids. The way fathers are handled in the legal system is upsetting. I no longer have any illusions about fairness. If we go to court, his ex lied profusely, and the judge accepted her statements without evidence. He hasn't seen his children in years and is required to pay severe alimony and child support. He even considered suicide. With the additional data I supplied, he has renewed optimism. We addressed the problem with my lawyer, who urged him to keep the evidence until after I met with Hannah and her attorney. If he uses it now, it will become clear that we have access to their communications. Our goal is to complete the divorce promptly and smoothly. I urgently want to detach myself from Hannah. If she fights, it could drag on and cause additional tension. I need to break free. The odd continued during our meeting yesterday afternoon. Hannah showed up 30 minutes late and, to my astonishment, did not bring a lawyer. She claims she didn't have or need one, so she brought along one of her new friends. My lawyer had given me explicit instructions to be quiet and non-confrontational. If someone addressed me, I was supposed to answer favorably whenever possible. When my lawyer placed her hands flat on the table, I knew I needed to remain mute. Despite arriving late and without masks, Hannah and her pals began by shouting insults and provoking me. My lawyer sought to steer the conversation toward the divorce, but they continued to make jokes and laugh at my expense. It was embarrassing and strange. Hannah seemed to believe it was all a game. In her perspective, I couldn't divorce her. Only she could do so, and she felt she'd get whatever she wanted. I was astounded by her arrogance. I kept my comments ambiguous, saying things like, "Yes, you're probably right," or "I'm really not sure." They eventually became exhausted, and my lawyer delivered the proposed settlement for an amicable divorce. She expressed my readiness to be generous in exchange for a swift and peaceful resolution, which included a big lump sum for house equity and investments. Hannah was definitely excited, and her friend encouraged her on. They were willing to sign quickly. My lawyer suggested they go over the rest of the agreement. However, Hannah insisted on signing right away, even detailing when she would receive the money and their plans for it. My lawyer brought in a notary who requested our identification documents. We signed 2 copies, and the notary stamped them. My lawyer, nearly brimming with joy, thanked Hannah and her companion and informed them that we were finished. They left, forgetting Hannah's copy of the agreement on the table. My lawyer told me to remain silent until they were out of the building. My lawyer complimented me when they left the parking lot, saying it was the most unusual session she'd ever had for a negotiated divorce. She explained that, Hannah. A copy of the agreement would be delivered to her following our hearing with the judge, or if she hired a lawyer who demanded one. Until then, it would be safe in my lawyer's drawer. On the surface, it appeared like my divorce would be simpler than anticipated. Hannah, on the other hand, might retain legal counsel and contest the case. My lawyer informed me that she would expedite a hearing before a court, most likely by video conference. After receiving recommendations from Reddit, I decided to engage a private investigator. The results were damaging images showing Hannah passionately kissing several men at separate bars before heading to a motel with one. This proof proved to be the final straw. Hannah agreed to give me full custody for a one-time fee and no spousal support. Now I only need to figure out my budget, and Noah has generously offered to cover the cost if required. My lawyer's counsel was clear: keep low, make payments, and avoid unwanted confrontations. I was told to avoid all shared interactions and remain patient until the hearing. The hearing occurred yesterday, and now I'm on the verge of finalizing the divorce. The paperwork will take 4 to 6 months to be officially processed, but the outcome is unlikely to change unless Hannah and I both agree to suspend the processes. I am completely fatigued and need to sleep for days. Please excuse me if I appear scattered. I had to get this off my chest. Maybe after discussing this, I'll be able to get some rest. My lawyer was able to arrange an early hearing only 12 days after completing the paperwork, which most likely entailed pulling some strings. But let me focus on the craziness of the previous weekend. On Friday morning, police officers appeared at my door with a search warrant for my home. I was startled and genuinely concerned for the children, so I asked if I might take them outside while the search was being undertaken, and they agreed. The officers offered few details, but I was able to obtain a copy of the warrant. Confusion and terror settled in. It turns out that Hannah's unpredictable behavior was influenced by medication, as suspected. The police stormed through my residence. I contacted my lawyer, who spoke with them. But because the warrant was valid, there was little we could do. It didn't occur to me at the time, but I now have surveillance cameras put around the house to prevent false allegations. I have audio and video recordings of everything. If I wish to, I may file a claim later. But for now, I think I'll just move on. What I didn't realize at the time was that Hannah and 3 of her pals had stolen my car and rammed it into a house while driving intoxicated. They were all arrested, determined to be very inebriated, and carrying a variety of substances on and in their bodies. The crash left them injured, with one passenger in serious condition, and her survival remains uncertain. Olivia, the protagonist's buddy, boasted about misleading her ex-husband, Liam. Liam and I have become close friends, but more about that later. Thankfully, the authorities discovered nothing incriminating during their search. I supplied a statement indicating that Hannah no longer lived at my house and was living with her parents, and that I had not given Olivia permission to use my car. I was devastated upon returning home. The house was a mess, entirely destroyed. It was the last straw. I called my father, who swiftly brought me and the kids to remain with my mother. My father organized 26 friends and family members to clean and repair my entire house while I sat on the back porch. Emotionally fatigued and eating my mother's comforting cuisine, they restored everything from every room to clothes, dishes, and furniture, even little difficulties like loose door handles. The house is now immaculate. Their goodwill was astounding, and I'm not sure how I'll ever thank them. My mood changed tremendously throughout the weekend, from despair to relief, thanks to the incredible support I received. The police discovered more narcotics at Olivia's house, where her partner was not present, leaving the children alone. Child Protective Services, CPS, intervened, and Liam was granted temporary emergency custody. On Saturday, he presented the judge with chat logs and evidence of maltreatment and substance usage, making it easy for him to obtain custody. Liam was ecstatic. He had scarcely seen his children in the previous 5 years and had been working tirelessly to save for a legal battle against Olivia. This unexpected change of events provides him a good chance of making the custody agreement permanent, albeit he must still go through a legal process. The children are safe in his care. Many feel Olivia might face severe jail time if her seriously injured buddy does not survive. Liam intends to seek child support and reparation for Olivia's acts, though he is not enthusiastic about the latter. His primary desire is to be with his children and give them a nice life, especially given Olivia's negligence. Noah has been a tremendous help. A friend helped Liam find a rented unit. I realized how little I knew about Noah's personal and professional life, and I intend to rectify that. But let us get back on track. Olivia was driving when they collided with the house, resulting in injuries and search warrants for everyone in the vehicle. Hannah is still registered at my address. Therefore, I decided on Sunday to sell the house and move as soon as feasible. I am concerned about similar situations occurring again. Her parents called me last Sunday to tell me that their house had also been searched. They had seen Hannah in jail on Saturday and no longer believed anything she said. To shorten the story, they came over to talk on Sunday. Hannah had deceived them about everything. She told them she was staying with me to work things out, but she was out partying and cheating on me. Based on what she told them, her parents believed her infidelity was a one-time mistake. Hannah called me from jail, desperate for $155,000 in bail money. Her parents had already rejected her. After consulting with my attorney, we established an agreement in which the bail amount would be deducted from the final settlement, with Hannah's mother managing the leftover funds. Hannah was forced to sign the agreement in order to avoid missing the court session. She was discharged Monday afternoon. Hannah's parents informed me that she had violated their terms for remaining with them, which included discontinuing her medicine, committing to rehabilitation, being open about her location, and avoiding harmful influences. She left their house on Tuesday to stay with a new acquaintance, missing the court hearing. As a result, I was granted complete custody. The settlement based on our agreement was completed in only 30 minutes. Although the paperwork will take 4 to 6 months to complete, the decision is effectively final. Now I have insomnia. People are applauding me as if I've won a major triumph, but it doesn't feel that way. Despite knowing that our relationship is finished, I still have feelings for Hannah. She was my best friend and soulmate up until lately. Even after all of the trauma, my feelings linger, causing tremendous pain. There are no clear winners here. I lose, Hannah loses, and our children lose. It seems like you're being urged to celebrate after losing both legs. People praise me as if I've preserved a portion of a limb while sacrificing both my ability to sleep, and when I do, I am plagued by nightmares. Today, I received a call from the hospital. Hannah has been admitted. I am still her emergency contact, and she is covered under my health insurance. She was involved in an event that resulted in her losing her teeth, breaking her jaw, and requiring a few days of observation. I took her parents to the hospital, and it turned out that several of her new acquaintances had violently attacked her. They suspected Hannah had exchanged incriminating conversation logs with a man named Liam, which exposed their deeds. They believed she had handed Liam the logs, which led to the assault. Hannah is still unaware that I can monitor her phone. I will continue to financially support her till the legal paperwork is completed. However, I want to believe it until I see it. She currently has nothing. She requested if she might return home, but I firmly declined. Her mother refused to provide financial assistance until Hannah became and remained sober for at least a year. They gave her a place to live under tight circumstances, and if she declines, I'm not sure how she'll cope for the first time. I noticed a trace of sadness in her eyes, but I doubted her sincerity. Throughout our meeting, she made very little eye contact. It pained to watch her like way, and I felt compelled to protect her. But she's an adult. Her behavior is hazardous, and I must safeguard my children. She didn't inquire about the court appearance or her damaged friend's condition. She appeared disconnected and annoyed. I still don't understand her conduct. She has lost everything, shattered our family, and caused grief for so many people, all for brief thrills and superficial connections. I'll keep my distance till she's been clean for a while. I can't handle the pandemonium any longer. I'm feeling dejected and fatigued. I rarely sleep, and when I do, I'm plagued by dreams. On a good note, the children are doing better. My father has been a wonderful help, and I can't think what I would do without him. We spent the weekend at his cabin skiing with the kids. It was a much-needed break. I have little communication with my ex. I did spoke to one of her friends who was in critical condition. She is now awake, although in horrible condition. The nurse informed me that no one had visited her throughout her hospitalization. When called, her relatives declined to visit, fearing that the people who attacked my ex might harm me and the children. I asked the nurse if I might talk with her friend. She consented, even though it seemed risky. I needed to know what had transpired since Hannah became acquainted with them. The conversation started awkwardly. She asked if I wanted a favor worth $120. Instead, I gave her $150 for information. She explained that Hannah's new acquaintances were very into drugs. Olivia, the ringleader, persuaded Hannah to try drugs and participate in their wild lifestyle. They sustained their addiction through prostitution while claiming to support feminist values. The hypocrisy was astounding. Hannah's group's professed ideals were nothing more than a masquerade. In reality, they sold themselves for drug money. Hannah went into this lifestyle, selling herself to feed her addiction. Hearing that the lady I loved had gone to such extremes was heartbreaking. It explained why money had unexpectedly become her top concern. Hannah, according to her buddy, had a severe meth addiction. She'd alienated everyone by stealing, lying, and cheating, leaving her entirely alone. Her companion did not hesitate to communicate Hannah's despair. She had no hope for the future and appeared really ill. Listening to her was both painful and depressing. I cried for Hannah, realizing how low she had slid. I'm not excusing her conduct. She made these decisions and must face the consequences. Olivia, her so-called buddy, is now facing a slew of accusations, including making death threats, resisting arrest, carrying drugs, engaging in prostitution, drug trafficking, child negligence, driving under the influence, causing property damage, and car theft. Denied bail poses a flight risk. She will most likely be involved in legal problems for a long period. I am grateful to individuals who shared their addiction experiences and warned me that Hannah might attempt suicide. Sadly, you were correct. She attempted to overdose her father, and I had anticipated this, so we kept a tight eye on her. Fortunately, she is still unaware that I can monitor her phone in real time while at the cabin on Saturday. I got a message from her that read like a suicide note. She discussed her addiction, prostitution, disappointing everyone, and feeling as if she had no other options. I immediately phoned her father. Thank you for the location tracking. He discovered her unconscious on a park bench. She was transported to a hospital in severe condition. I fear to imagine what would have occurred if he had arrived a little later. Hannah is now on methadone, and her father has been named as her legal guardian. She can no longer resist therapy. He forcibly admitted her to a treatment facility, where she will begin a sedated detox this week. His appointment is based not only on her overdose, but also on the fact that she abandoned her children, exhibiting illogical and suicidal conduct. That's the legal justification. Fortunately, I had not canceled her health insurance yet, so she will receive the necessary care. I was afraid that the men who assaulted Hannah would come after me and the children. Liam submitted chat logs in court, which they believed Hannah had given him. I spoke with Liam, and he agreed to handle it because he profited from the revelation. Liam, a large, intimidating man, went to the men's residence, which was in bad condition, and confronted them. He informed them that Olivia had provided him the chat records and that they had two options: go to the authorities and tell them everything about the assault, or face immediate and unpleasant consequences. He made it apparent that he hoped they would select the first option. They did not waste any time getting to the police, therefore I am no longer concerned about them. I found a new apartment and will be moving shortly. Noah once again came through for me. Despite everything, I'm feeling pretty sad. This problem is heavy on my mind. What keeps me going is my friends and family's unfailing support, as well as the knowledge that I must remain strong for the children. Regardless of the circumstances, my heart breaks for Hannah. I do not regret marrying her. I still love her, but I realize we'll never be together again. She is no longer the same person she once was, and our relationship is fraught with pain. Despite our recent difficulties, we had a good life together, and I wouldn't have my children without her. I would not exchange them for anything. I know the anguish will last for a long time. Oddly, the revelation of Hannah's addiction has helped my children comprehend. It is easy to explain that mommy is sick and will take some time to recover. She still loves them and so forth. I'm feeling depressed and fatigued right now. Liam is here with his children, and we are going to watch a movie together. I'm attempting to make as many pleasant memories as possible. Liam is doing the same, and our children appear to be doing a lot better now. I believe we will be fine. Hannah tragically died from an overdose while in rehabilitation. We don't know how she got drugs, but it appears that things went horribly wrong. Substance abuse is a serious problem that is truly heartbreaking. Seek support from your family if necessary, and prioritize your children's needs. The current situation is unpleasant, but it will improve. Remember that your children rely on you more than ever, and your in-laws are suffering even more than you. Best of luck, and stay strong. Here's the next story. I sat on the swing, watching a spider make its web. The sun was a few minutes away from rising. This spider had selected the bottom of the children's slide at the neighborhood park. It moved back and forth across the slide's departure point, measuring about 4 inches tall and 18 inches wide. An engineering marvel. I admired the completed web. Such a complicated work was made in one night. Isn't it amazing what you can do when you remove spreadsheet pushers from a project? The first child to go down the slide would put the spider's labor to the test. You must have a plan. The spider did, and he only needed to use it once, to eat like a king for the rest of his life. All right. Maybe his strategy had flaws, but as they say, nothing ventured is nothing gained. I am cheering for you, buddy. My plan is about as stupid as yours, but I have one too. Only the spiders and insects heard my speech. Today was Monday, the first day of my plan. If all went according to plan, the final domino would fall some night soon. My name is Blake Fall. I married Shauna shortly after graduating from the University of Michigan. We both got work in Detroit's outskirts. Our past is unremarkable and boring. College students typically find each other, experiment with others, and then return to each other. I'm somewhat insecure, and this takes me to the world of jealousy. I can be a real jerk to Shauna if I don't like how she dresses or behaves in public. I occasionally yell at her in public. It's not like she doesn't understand where I'm coming from. Regardless of my failings, we talked constantly about actions and consequences. Shauna consented to marry me. No difficulties, right? I wish. Shauna and I are keen pistol shooters. We completed all of the defensive pistol training, the NRA basic pistol course, and the courses required for obtaining a concealed carry permit. We hold shooting tournaments at the indoor range. Shauna earned the Annie Oakley Award. Who is the finest female shooter? More than once. I'm not awful, but not quite as good as she is. The Detroit suburbs have a lot of nice neighborhoods to reside in. There are a few instances where I feel more secure, knowing she is armed and capable. We continue to attend many University of Michigan football, basketball, and baseball games. I participated in all three sports in high school, but once in college, I focused on my education. That, and the fact that I am far from talented enough to compete at the collegiate level. Greg had slammed his fist on his desk the previous Thursday. Oh, it will take me forever to go home. I perked up and turned towards him. How do you know that, Greg? He motioned to his screen. I'm gazing at the traffic camera at the intersection of highways 7 and 82. A pickup truck is on its side, and an automobile is on top. There is no way that will be open tonight. You should see it. I strolled from my desk to Greg's cubicle, staring at the screen of his laptop. Shauna was standing there with the paramedic's gauze wrapped around her skull, and my gut constricted. At least, I believe it's her. She has a very noticeable tattoo on her left arm, from shoulder to wrist. The people on the camera were little too small to confirm my suspicions. Apparently, her trip to Chicago departed without her yesterday. The truck on its side looked familiar to me. I simply couldn't put a name to it. I leaned closer to the TV. Can you acquire screenshots of the crash? Greg nodded but maintained his gaze on the monitor. Only until I change the cameras. I can save the video from the moment I began monitoring this cam. You can make photographs of it. What piqued your interest? I stared at the wreckage. An odd sense of familiarity has crept in. I believe I recognize that truck. I need to search my memory banks, but I already know what I'm looking for. Greg took a video and forwarded it to me after zooming in on the frame. I am almost certain that is Shauna. The phone call last night was total rubbish. The flight was uneventful. Nice room. The meetings went well. I miss you. Tomorrow's a busy day. The flight was late. Do not wait for me. I was utterly distracted when driving home. What kind of fool have I been taken for? How do I recognize that truck? I went through the entire roster of characters, close friends, relatives, and neighbors. There's not even a hint of a match. The truck's blue and yellow stripes terrified me. Who is it? Shauna's call arrived about 7 p.m. I let it go to the messages. Hello, babe. This is bad news. My taxi to the airport was involved in an accident. I'm fine, but I did get a gash across my forehead. Long story short, I missed my flight. I will let you know as soon as I know. Love you. Call me. My heart hasn't stopped racing since I first saw the photo. The total betrayal has my stomach in knots and flames flying out of my ears. Despite my best efforts, I was unable to eat. The emotions were killing me. After realizing my marriage was a fake, I sought vengeance on both Shauna and her lover. I spent the next few hours searching through the house for something, but not knowing what I was looking for was irritating. Simmering wrath drove my search. Nothing caught my eye. My next step was to review our credit card bills. Shauna travels at least twice a month, so I assumed there was some kind of error in her purchasing. In a sense, I was correct. Every other month, she compares her travel expenses against her credit card spending. One of the trips involved no credit card usage. The only payment was for parking at the airport. She uses her corporate credit card to pay for tickets, accommodations, and rides. Everything else is charged to her own card, and she provides an expense report. I'm expected to assume she paid cash or simply didn't eat throughout those trips. With what I witnessed on the traffic camera, I knew better. She was going on a 2-day love fest disguised as a trip. I needed to find out. With whom? That should be obvious. I'll request a copy of the traffic accident report. Shauna stores her critical paperwork in a filing cabinet. I wondered if her expense account filings were included somewhere. She is so organized that it simply took a few minutes to find the correct folder. Another minute to validate that the visits without credit card usage were not recorded on her expense account. I wanted to drink, but knew better. Does it matter how long it has gone on? Not really. Hers is a cold and calculated treachery. My vengeance will be designed to match the magnitude of her deception. In the divorce, I will be fair. What choices do I have? She will get a 50% prenuptial agreement. Yes, right. I hope she gets her 50%. Sleep came slowly, and coffee took longer to start my engine in the morning. When I turned on my phone, I saw a message from Shauna saying she'd be home later today. I went to work without responding to her. After searching the internet for divorce guidance, I reviewed our joint accounts. I'd have to open an account in my name, but the brokerage account would be a little more challenging. No method to change positions. So I sold enough to meet the 50% mark. I'd return when things had settled and move my half out when the time was perfect. There was nothing to do because the house was almost completely submerged. I didn't discuss my impending divorce with any of my friends, family, or co-workers since I didn't want to give away any secrets. At lunch, I obtained a copy of the accident's police report. There's no doubt about that now. She is identified as an injured passenger in the pickup truck. I didn't identify the truck's owner's name. Race 0. It still puzzled me that I believed I recognized that ridiculous truck. At least I had the address of her lover's home. It was 3 blocks from our home. A simple online search revealed the deed for the address. Loverboy owns it with Jill Strong, therefore I'm guessing she's his wife. Other websites I discovered provided some personal information for both Ray and Jill. It appears that they both attended the same high school as Shauna. When Shauna called about quitting time, I decided I'd better respond or she'd notice something was wrong. You're back. I have been trying to call you since last night. Is everything okay? She asked. I am surviving. My phone did turn off this morning and again at lunchtime. I suppose I should take it in and have it checked out. How was your trip? Everything went perfect until the taxi journey. I'll have to put on makeup to conceal the cut on my forehead. Bring a girl to supper, she asked. Sure, somewhere light. I do not have much of an appetite. Choose a location, and I will meet you there. I took the longer route to the restaurant, driving past the Strand's residence. I didn't notice the truck in front. A banner fluttering from the porch alerted me to the situation. The University of Michigan flag. This is the truck we see while tailgating at Michigan football games in Ann Arbor. That explains why the truck has blue and yellow stripes. We always tailgate in the same place, and the Strong O's did as well. I assumed he and his wife were friendly with everyone. At dinner, I really tried, but Shauna could sense something was wrong. Is something bothering you, Blake? You appear to be really distracted tonight. I have a lot on my mind. I said, don't let it bother you. Shauna began the nighttime routine of makeup removal. I climbed into bed and pretended to be sleeping. Shauna was naked when she climbed into bed to embrace. All I had to do was contemplate her betrayal, and I went slack. She shook me slightly, but then abandoned her romantic advances. Shauna was completely sleeping as I went for work in the morning. I tore through her car and discovered a cell phone stashed in the back seat cushions. Powering it on and scrolling through the words confirmed it for me. Shauna and Ray had been at it for months, if not longer. One text in particular threw me off the deep end. I am not sure what your penalty will be, but there will be a price to pay. I am not a violent man. I don't see myself doing anything physical with either of them. Some innovative thinking was necessary. I decided that meeting with an attorney would be damaging to my plans. I was going to be utterly taken aback when she confesses to her affair. If my strategy succeeds, I'll need to act quickly to protect what I can. I got what I needed and spent my weekend avoiding Shauna. She wanted to make love on Saturday, but all I did was jump on, get off, and fast fall asleep. Shauna attempted again on Sunday night. I held on to the memory of her treachery and she failed to arouse me. Frustrated, she gave up and we fell asleep. I got up early Monday morning and spent some time at the park. I needed to be assured that this was the path I really wanted to take. Thinking back on that text message convinced me to approach the situation from Shauna's point of view. I believed I had everything under control until the phone call. Monday mornings are always very hectic at work. I handle numerous calls every hour. When my workplace phone rang, I answered it right away. The caller ID indicated private. "This is Shauna. I understand what you are doing with Ray. I want in on the action." The voice sounded calm and male. The voice had an irritating high nasal pitch. He disconnected before I could answer. My thoughts raced. Hell, I was found out. I wasn't myself for the remainder of the day and evening. One of our nighttime pastimes was to have a cup of hot tea. It appears to relax both of us. Blake always repairs it right before bedtime. Blake appeared apprehensive. "Are you certain you're okay? You're acting like you're disturbed by something tonight." "I am fine. Just some things at work that are making me irritated. I need to think about other things. No, anything to keep a female busy for a while." I came to the conclusion that I would not be blackmailed. I'll wait to hear the response. I had dreams about Blake finding out. Talking to myself convinced me not to see Ray anymore. "This is Shauna," the same voice from previously, answered. "Ready to come?" "Please." "Me?" "No, I am not," I responded, and this time I hung up. Another call arrived less than a minute later. "This is Shauna," I responded. "Both of you snore. You wore a blue teddy last night. You sleep on the right side of the bed. You didn't wear panties, so I got a good picture of your body." I doubt he heard my gasp because he hung up after his comment. I rushed down the corridor and puked in the first available stall. When I located my car after work, there was a little package tucked under the windshield wiper. I cried for 30 minutes after seeing the photo of my body shot last night. He was inside my bedroom. I felt violated. What did I get myself into? That night at home, I was busy paying bills and organizing for taxes. How did he get in during the middle of the night? Is this a friend of Ray? Is this Ray's enemy? It is not a voice I am familiar with. I'd recall the unpleasant sound. "Blake, do you think we can add a latch on the outer doors?" I asked. "And I guess so." "What prompted you to bring that up?" he responded. "I just heard of recent home break-ins." I replied, "I don't want anyone getting into our house while we're home. I'll add it to the honey-do list." I did not get a decent night's sleep. Every small creak from the house shocked me. I struggled to wake up in the morning. My nightmare did not take long to continue. Another call came through. "This is Shauna," I responded in the voice I had been dreading. "Great pair of pajamas last night? No body shot for me. Prepared to be my love woman. Who are you? What do you want?" I asked. "You understand what I want. Have you ever used restraints? Your place or mine?" he answered. "Come to my apartment, jerk. I will blow a tennis ball-sized hole in your chest," I roared. There were no responses. I requested and received a 2-hour lunch break. I was a disaster. Who can I turn to? Everyone is unaware of my involvement with Ray. That's not correct, is it? Everyone. Except there is at least one stalker. Blake and I were intimate again. Now I'm wondering if he knows anything. He's not acting like that. Except we're not making love anymore. Perhaps we have not made love in a long time. I've been so focused on having intimacy with Ray that I think I may have neglected my home love life. Only getting a few hours of sleep is beginning to wear on me, Blake. I believe I'm coming down with something. I'll sleep in the guest bedroom so you don't get it. No, no, no. I'll move on my back. I enjoy the rigidity of the guest bedrooms. Bed. I'll sleep there, he replied. Blake. I've been getting nightmares. I am going to have my rifle with me at night. Make lots of noise before entering the bedroom. Will do. I don't need Annie Oakley wreaking havoc on me. Why don't I install a lockable handle on the bedroom door? I'll add it to the honey-do list. Sleep tightly. Now I'm genuinely wondering if Blake knows anything. What's this sleep tight stuff? He always ended his excellent evenings with affection. You. When was the last time I heard love you? After Blake had gone to the guest bedroom, I positioned a chair against my bedroom door. I placed some trinkets on the ledge and tucked my revolver under Blake's pillow. Hopefully, if my stalker shows up tonight, he will make enough noise to wake me up, and I will blast him back. Another call came through. This is Shauna. I responded, I dropped by, but I don't see a hole in my chest. Nice trinkets. I took a few pictures with Blake in the other bedroom. Maybe I could give him some drugs. Then we can have a lot of fun. That headboard should work perfectly for the shackles. He hung up before I could respond. I dashed home for lunch, and 3 of the items were missing. I vomited in my own toilet. What the hell did I get myself into? If I go to the police, Blake will learn about my affair. What choices do I have? I need to tell someone. I'm not going to be a stalker's play toy. Ray wanted to get together this evening, but I declined. I maintain a burner phone in my car and use it to contact with Raymond. I told him we needed to relax for now. His texts expressed his discontent with the choice. I'm not sure if my stalker found me by following Ray. I'm afraid and bewildered. Should I just submit to him? Where does it end? Maybe I should inform Blake and ask for his help. My immediate supervisor has noted my bad performance at work. I received the normal pep talk. That is very embarrassing. I have never required one before. I could feel the glances and hear the snickering as I approached his office. I cried for an hour before Blake arrived home. I cleaned up and applied some new makeup before joining him for supper. After hanging some bells on the window and door, I felt a little more secure. Try to sneak in now. Pervert. Friday morning, I tried to be productive. That lasted only until he called. This is Shauna, I responded. Nice touch with the bells. You frightened me for a moment, but you slept right through it. Have you seen that? I emptied your firearm and placed the ammunition on the windowsill. I also returned your trinkets. Are you ready now? I need Blake. I can't do this alone. If I tell him, I might have to do this alone anyhow. What a mess. The weekend cannot come soon enough. At the very least, he'll be unable to abuse me at work. What if he plans to do something to me this weekend? I wasn't in the mood for intimacy, and Blake was content to avoid me with a trip planned for next Wednesday. I couldn't decide whether to accept it or cancel it. When is the bastard going to come for me? Is he sick enough to follow me down the road? Blake was fast asleep when I finished my shower on Saturday morning. He never sleeps late. I shook him again till he groggily awoke. He sat up and looked puzzled at me. Wow. Am I ever out of it today? What time is it? Nearly 9. Are you feeling okay? I replied while massaging his neck. He flinched. What the hell? I have a hurting neck. I examined and saw a spider bite or something similar on his neck. Looks like you were bitten. Allow me to acquire a patch for you. The rest of the morning was spent on usual weekend chores. Blake went out for some Jamba Juice around lunchtime. My cell phone rang, and the caller ID was private. My mother had hidden all of her calls, so I replied, Hello? I responded. I used my tranquilizer dart on Blake last night. I notice he is still alive, so I believe we are good to go. I will bring some keys for you. I reached the end. My legs were shaky and feeble. I couldn't control my stomach no matter what I tried. I sprayed half a can of deodorizer to completely conceal the evidence. I have to inform Blake that I can't keep this up. I can't tell Blake. I'm completely bewildered. Why did I even do this? My head was whirling from all of this turmoil. For what? Some monkey closeness? It is not love. Ray was never particularly great, even in high school. What the hell was I thinking? Would you ever get connected with him? Sunday wasn't any better than Saturday. Every time the phone rang, my blood pressure rose. When I answered the private call, he was there again. Blake was in the backyard working on the mower. Hello? I responded. Shauna, your time is up. Next time you're alone, you're mine. Before I could react, the connection dropped. I was sweating and shaking. Sooner or later, I will be alone in the house. I can't take it much longer. As the day progressed, I became increasingly concerned about the time. I didn't want to sleep tonight. My world flipped sideways just before bedtime. I have to rush back to the workplace. Blake replied, I shouldn't be gone for more than 90 minutes. Please don't leave, Blake. Can it wait until morning? I asked. I will not be gone long. See you in a bit. I ensured that all of the doors and windows were locked. After closing the bedroom door and activating the bells, I sat on my bed, the lights on, taking the gun from under the pillow. I checked the magazine and confirmed that it was loaded. My heart began to pound when I heard the floor crack. Panic caused it. I vacillated between pointing my gun at the entrance and the window. When the doorbell rang, I fired. I heard a grunt and shot again and again. The door swung wide, revealing a corpse clad in black and collapsed face down. I was trembling and looked down to discover that I had peed in the bed. My shaking was so severe that I had difficulty turning myself on. 911. What is your emergency? I just shot someone inside my house. I have a rifle aiming toward the body. I am terrified to get near it. Try to remain calm, ma'am. Could you please provide me your address? 5 minutes later, although it felt like hours. The first squad car has arrived. A minute later, the ambulance arrived, accompanied by some paramedics. Within 30 minutes, the area was crawling with police. I wanted Blake. I needed Blake. Where in the hell is Blake? In our state, there is a make-my-day law intruder in your home. Kill them how you see fit. If the intruder died, it was a done deal. Paramedics worked immediately to transport the victim to the hospital. He had lost a lot of blood, yet remained alive. From Blake's perspective, I informed Shauna that I was leaving for the workplace. When I got to the garage, I put on latex gloves. I found Shauna's burner phone in her car. I copied the text that infuriated me and sent it to Ray. It was exactly the same as what she had sent a few months before. The timing sent was nearly identical to that of the previous transmission. I returned her phone to where I found it. I drove down the block, waiting for her bedroom light to be the only one on. I merely needed to wait a few minutes. I stepped back and unlocked the front door. I hurried away and arrived at my office shortly after. We have several security cameras, and I need my access card to pass through the entrance, inside the building, and into my office. I turned on my computer but just sat there, wondering how it truly worked. After devising my strategy, I purchased a burner phone and downloaded the voice disguise program. I could sense Shauna's stress and her actions that first night at home. Every night I would add a sleeping sedative to her hot tea. She passed out as soon as she fell. That first night, I adjusted her so I could get a good image of her body. I produced it using our printer. Her voice was full with panic. Day 2 was just what I had hoped for. Every night she was out cold, so I could make a lot of noise and she wouldn't move. On Friday night, around 3 a.m., I got up and poked a hole in the back of my neck with a safety pin. When I detected blood, I flushed the safety pin. After taking 3 sleeping tablets, I slept off shortly. I recalled a text I had sent a few months ago. He's just departed for the office. Get over here. She wants some love. You do not have much time. I estimated that my trip home would take roughly an hour, or when the cops called. 1 hour? This meant that the plan did not work. The cops would represent achievement. My local government contacted me via phone. This is Blake. I responded to Mr. Farley. Who is this? I inquired, sir. This is Sergeant Willis. There was a gunshot at your house. Your wife is unharmed, albeit deeply shaken. Can you come home and soothe her? I am on my way. I should be there in 10 minutes. Don't you enjoy it when a plan comes together? When I arrived home, the area was flooded with red and blue blinking lights. Working my way past the sentries, I entered my home. Shauna jumped to her feet as she saw me. She gave me a crushing hug and began sobbing. Detective Sampson sat across from Shauna and me. She was still sobbing and shaking. Mrs. Foley, the intruder's name is Ray Strand. Zoe, do you know him? "Oh, God. No. Oh, hell, I'm so sorry, Blake. Oh, God," and began crying uncontrollably. "Sorry, Detective. My wife is plainly upset about the whole situation. Allow her a minute to collect herself." "Okay, let's try this again. It looks that you know Ray Strand." "Zoe, is this correct?" In a gentle whisper. We attended high school together. Around that time, a cop touched Detective Sampson on the shoulder and spoke into his ear. He stood up and left the room for about a minute. When he returned and began chatting, I tried to appear stunned. "Mrs. Foley, I am going to interrogate you. Officer, please handcuff her. Shauna Foley, you have the right to be silent." When Miranda was finished, I inquired, "What's happening?" "Detective, we found his cell phone. Your wife has invited him over this evening. We have some investigation to undertake." "What the hell, you deceitful woman? Blake, I didn't do it. Please do not go. I need you. Please." I stomped out of the house, not looking back. It was all I could do not to smirk. I watched from the driveway as they took Shauna away. She was still pleading. "Help me. Blake, please help me. Not a chance. It's only a matter of time before they find your phone and the text you sent inviting Ray to come over. I made certain that they locked up the house once the yellow tape was in place. I spent the night at a motel. In the morning, I grabbed a large decaf and went to the park. It seems that my tiny spider friend was trying again. Don't stop believing, friend. Even the most absurd proposals have a possibility of succeeding." Shauna made one phone call to get her parents involved. The cops obtained a search warrant and discovered Shauna's burner phone, which had a history of conversing and texting with other burner phones. It did not look good for Shauna. My first call was to begin divorce proceedings. Finances were located, and Shauna was awarded 50%, but I was not required to pay her legal bills for attempted first-degree murder. I stole 50% of the funds from our joint accounts. I opened an account in my name exclusively and adjusted my paycheck direct transfer to that account. The brokerage account was straightforward because half of it was in cash. Ray's divorce attorney got things started before he took any formal action. That was a good thing, he told me. After the yellow tape was removed, I packed Shauna's possessions and dropped them off at her parents' house. I hired specialists to clean my house. My attorney accompanied me to the sole questioning the cops requested. She was attempting to convince them that I had set her up. That was the only thing that made sense to her when she explained that she had not sent the previous text message. When asked if they had cell tower information on her phones, they answered yes, and it confirmed my account and their belief that she was a cold-blooded criminal. Apparently, Annie Oakley chokes under pressure. Only 2 of the 5 shots had hit flesh. One ripped a hole and destroyed a kidney. The other cut a piece off of his right ear. I suppose I can live with that. Although I had hoped for more from all that pistol training, I observed from the gallery as she made her case. She was being stalked but didn't tell anyone because of her affair. She never sent the text. My husband must have known and framed me. The press discovered that she had been offered a plea deal. I suppose her overconfidence in her ability to handle a problem got the best of her once again. Guilty. 20 years. I did not wait till the divorce was finalized to begin sleeping around. There are numerous organizations eager to assist the humiliated spouse once the wife is serving time. Shauna's riches were exhausted swiftly while fighting for her freedom. I wasn't on the hook. And even if Ray were to sue, there were no shared assets of any worth. It made no sense to pay so much for a moral win, so no lawsuit was ever filed. I genuinely need help dealing with the jealousy. Thank you for listening to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, leave a comment below to share your thoughts on what happened. Take care.